All right, all right, all right. Welcome everyone. I'll wait for everybody to get in here and we can get started. It's gonna be an interesting conversation, family. So I'm just gonna wait around. Let me see who in here. Put my speaker down. All right. I got 12 in here. I got Darnell. Welcome, Darnell. Naturally amazing. Welcome, welcome, everyone. I'm gonna wait around. I'm gonna give everybody a few minutes. Let me know if it sound good. If the sound good, please hit 1. I want to see if I'm good and everybody can hear me and I'm loud enough. All right, 1921. Hello, Ancient Kingdom. All right, good, good, good. All right, 2020. We do a little bit of housekeeping and then we can get started. 1 second. All right. Get started. We're sitting with 18 people, 18 people. So let me give everybody about 1 more minute to get in and we can get started. 1 more minute. While I do that, let me take care of a little bit of housekeeping and we can get started. All right. Welcome, welcome. Okay. Automatically turned it on. Oh, okay. I'll change that. All right, I'll change it. Thank you. Oh, on the keyboard. And then we can get started. All right. So, family, this is going to be a very interesting conversation. First, I want to tell everybody welcome to Let's Talk with Sister E. I am Sister E, and we have an amazing panel today. I have the pleasure and the opportunity to have first Minister Yakoba. Say something to the people.
Shalom, family.
I also have Pastor Kelly Richardson on here as well. Say something to the people, Pastor. Hello? Okay, we'll go on to the next one and then hop in when you can, Pastor Kelly. And also, we have Pastor Majors in the house. This is the first time he's been on my panel. So I'm a little excited about this. So say something. You want to say something to the people, Pastor Majors?
Shalom, shalom.
All right, all right. So we got a good discussion right now. I haven't looked totally at the whole video because I haven't 100% had time, but a couple of my brothers had an opportunity to look at the video that Nephi presented to the people, I think a couple of days ago, about the Zondervan dictionary, compact dictionary, Bible dictionary. And I know that a couple of the brothers out here wanted to talk through it and talk through a couple of things that they came across. So I'm gonna give it over to Yakoba. You want to start?
Sure. So, the funny thing is UA does what UA does, right? UA misrepresents, UA lies, UA twists the truth. UA will give you a red herring, okay, and try to make that the case, right? When you're looking at A, they're going to move you to B. It's sort of like what they did to what they call moderates, those who aren't camp members. In the beginning, they tried to make us all the same. And so they wouldn't make the distinction between us, right? So Here we go with Zondervan. Now, my thing is this. Zondervan is not the strongest case we have. Okay, we can take the Zondervan dictionary and throw it out the window and still prove that the Negro is the true Hebrew Israelites. Okay, but when it comes to sound scholarship, you have to be honest with your resources. You have to be honest with your comparisons. Okay, now the books that Nephi used were around the 1900s. And one of the books he used was called The Negro, the Beast. Now, we know that a lot of these guys who were, just, you know, the descendants of slave masters thought that the Negroes were beasts because they had to say that in order to justify quote unquote white Christianity to enslave God's people. You had to make us something other than human. But the problem I have is Nephi shows a book called The Negro the Beast to make the case that the use of in the definition of Ham, where it says, but not the Negro, okay, that the reason why they said not the Negro is because they thought the Negro was a beast. So therefore, since they thought the Negro was a beast, the camps using Zondervan as a justification to say, see, where's Shem is invalid. Like I stated, we could throw Zondervan out the window. We don't need that. But for true scholarship, we need to look at when this book was written. Now, I'm going to read something from a book. It's called The House of Zondervan, Celebrating 75 Years by Jim Ruark. It says, Pat and Peter recruited Merrill C. Tenney of Wheaton College as a general editor to head a team of 65 scholars. So they had a team of 65 scholars. The project required an investment more than $100,000 before the first copy came off the press. Zondervan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary was published in February 1963. Let's stop right there. This was their first dictionary. It was a Pictorial Bible Dictionary, first published in 1963. 63 years later than the book that Nephi was quoting, which was written in the early 1900s. Okay? Now, I'm going to continue. And the first printing of 35,000 copies sold out quickly based on the King James Version. It was for many years one of the leading references works on Zondervan's list. And there are more than 600,000 copies in print. True to his promise, it contains more than 700 photographs, drawings, charts, 40 maps. In 1987, Zondervan revised this classic reference work to make it compatible with the NIV Bible by publishing the New International Dictionary of the Bible Pictorial Edition. That edition was sold over 160,000 copies. Now, I want to read one more thing from this book, and this is on page 55. It says, he also compiled the Compact Bible. Now, this is the Bible we're dealing with, right? The one that talks about Ham, who Ham is, and that the Negro is not Ham. He also compiled the Compact Bible Dictionary, a condensation of the Zondervan Pictorial Bible Dictionary. That's the one we were just talking about. This was published in 1967. So the first copy of the Compact Bible Dictionary was released or published in 1967, 67 years after the book that Nephi referenced, which was a 1900 book. Okay, now, not only does she reference a book 67 years later, right, which if you want to try to make the comparison to the book, The Negro, the Beast, you cannot, because these are not the same people. They don't have the same ideology. We're right during the time of the civil rights movement. Okay, she has not proved that Pat Zondervan and Bernie Zondervan were racist, nor were the people, the 67 scholars that they hired were racist. She did not prove that. Okay, So if you want to use the Compact Bible Dictionary and you want to say that the reason they said but not the Negro to prove that they were in reference to us as a beast, you have to determine that the owners were racist. Now, let's stop right there. In 1995, Zondervan was purchased by another company. What's the name of the company? Let's see. I just had it in my head and I just lost it, right? Hold on one second.
Take your time. Take your time. I'm just muting because I have a lot of background noise. So
okay. HarperCollins. So Zondervan was purchased by HarperCollins in 1995, which is a global publishing house traded on a stock market exchange, on exchange. So now you have to not only prove that Zondervan was racist, you have to prove that the scholars who wrote the dictionary in 1967 were racist. You now have to prove that HarperCollins was racist and continue the racist ideas that the Negro is a beast. And that's what they meant when they wrote the Compact Bible Dictionary. So Nephi wants to take a book written in 1900 to try to prove that a book written in 1967 is promoting a racist agenda of 1900s. Now we know even during the civil rights movement, it was not politically correct to even promote the idea of Negro the beast. Now, if you look at the history of some of these people out there, right? If you look at some of their history, they're what we call right-wing conservative evangelicals. Many of these are the same people that Nephi and her crew quote. How many biblical scholars today quote from Zondervan Bible dictionaries? How many of them quote from Zondervan Bibles? Okay, now, HarperCollins released a book promoted in, I believe it was, I can't remember the date, but they promoted an African-American devotional Bible. So HarperCollins, who owns Zondervan, released an African-American devotional Bible. So you're telling me people who released an African-American, now they're calling us African-Americans, they're not calling us beasts. They released an African-American devotional Bible, and they're still releasing or promoting the idea that the Negro is the beast. Maybe, just maybe, the reason that they didn't associate us with Ham is because we're not Ham. Maybe the reason they didn't associate us with Ham because we are Shem. And we can talk about other references and I know if Pastor Kelly on, he could talk more about it. You got the Young's Compact Bible Dictionary, which says the same thing, that the Negro is not Ham. So you're going to tell me they're racist as well. See the poor scholarship? Now, as I mentioned, we don't even need Zondervan to prove who we are. Why does Nephi and her UA ilk decide to use that? Because the camps use it, see? Because the camps quote from Zondervan, they think that they can attack them. My point is this, and I'm gonna let the rest of the people talk. My point is, you put yourself in a major civil a lawsuit category. I'm glad I'm not in your shoes, because now you're defacing the image of a company, right? Zondervan, who's a Christian company, who and Nephi's an attorney supposedly, by denigrating them and associating them with a 1900 book that references Negroes as beasts, she now puts herself in the category of defamation. Okay, now whether that applies to a corporate entity, I don't know, but the Zondervan name still applies to a family. So she still might be in trouble for a lawsuit. If I was them, I would correct what they were saying, because right now, based upon the video that she was showing, she's equating Zondervan Publishing with the book dealing with Negro the Beast. And there is no comparison. There is no justification for that comparison. And once again, they show that they are liars and disingenuous.
hey, is Pastor Kelly, are you able to, because I know you're having a couple of issues.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I watched the video as well. And excuse me, my throat And I apologize if my phone keeps going in and out. And I watched the video, and just watching it and seeing the comparisons and so forth. And as Brother Yakoba pointed out, I mean, you know, I understand what she's trying to do and how she's trying to make the correlation. And the thing about it, one of the things that she mentioned is that all the books during that time had the views of us being beasts. That's one of the things that she stated. And if that's the case, that they making, making those type of references, then basically we can just pretty much shut down any type of book, academic book during that time, based upon that assertion. But when you look at the Zondervan, for example, Zondervan also published the NIV Bible, and they also published the Satanic Bible. Does that mean that the company itself are satanic worshipers? It's um, it's just really getting into an area to where as though when and I'm just going to refer to those guys over in that group. The goal is not trying to give proper understanding the way it comes across, is to anything that they deem that a Hebrew Israelite per se, as they use it as a form of a religion, but not an ethnicity. They are using anything that they can grab hold of to use it as a talking point. And that is a very huge assertion to say that the Young's Combat Bible Dictionary, the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, all of them are making reference, which these books were written um, centuries later, at least 50 years later, that they are making reference to this particular book. Um, so that's just a very a stretch of what I see what she's done with that. And even I saw her writings on, I mean, her narrative on the um, on Samuel Morton, right, the cranium person. Yeah, we can say, if you read his information, I've read it years ago. He uses the cranium to make the determination, um, that you can determine the intellects of a person based upon their cranium size and so forth. And yes, he has some wild views way out in the left field to try to state that based upon the cranium, it really puts us into, as a people, into certain categories in terms of our smarts. But then the one thing that was not read from it, as she read or highlighted some things from the other books, he made it clear that he was able to determine through the cranium that, guess what, those Negroes, that there were Negroes that was enslaved in Egypt, said that they were numerous, right? And that's the one thing, even though others have debunked in terms of his way of trying to assess the intelligence of a people by the size of the craniums, but they did not debunk that portion to state his assessment, his conclusion that those craniums, that there are craniums of enslaved Negroes there at that time, um, in comparison to the Negroes at the time of 1844 when he wrote um, the Crania Aegyptica. So it's far-reaching, when you start trying to draw those types of conclusions to basically to substantiate whatever claims that, or whatever narratives that you're trying to have, and so that's just a area that I just would not venture into. Why? Because now, as Brother Yakoba, Mr. Yakoba pointed out, now you get into legalities. Now you're getting into, now you're saying that the person that wrote this book, right, who is a Christian, now you're saying that this person now is actually a racist and use a reference from the 1900s that literally compare our people to beasts. That they are actually, that's what they actually mean, not the Negroes. And even in there, he's saying that and, and I'll turn it over here, but even when you read the quote from the Zondervan dictionary, right? He says, it says that referring to Ham, he became the progenitor of the dark races, right? So he highlights all Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites as being what? Dark races, including the Negro. But he's saying that but the Negroes are not, what he's saying here is not descendant of Ham. But if they were saying that, um, from that perspective of what they're pointing out, then guess what? You would not see the Ethiopians listed there. You would not see the Libyans listed there. You would not see the Canaanites. Well, maybe the Canaanites, but you would not see the Egyptians listed there, because the Egyptians, as she pointed out, and many see, that there was a lot of whitewashing of the Egyptians in the movies, as well as when we look at those walls. And then you could start getting into um, what's his name, Hamas. I can't remember his full name. That's contributing to a lot of whitewashing of the information. But the book that you can read is Black Genesis, which is a very good book to give you some references and background with that. So here it says that Ham, the progenitor of the dark races, right? And here you see not just the Negroes listed as a dark race, but the Egyptians is listed as a dark race. The Ethiopians is listed as a dark race. The Libyans is listed as a dark race. The Canaanites is listed as a dark race. And then when you go to the Young's um, Compact Bible Dictionary, guess what? They pretty much echo the same sentiments. So it's really a stretch from what I see here, because even then under the Young's it says a son of Noah, father of Cush, Egypt, Put, Canaan, and it goes on to say, while they may all have been dark skinned, they were not the forefathers of the Negroid races. I mean, is that saying that this they wrote this because they're saying that the Negroes, as she equated it to that book that she made reference to, is because they're saying that we are beasts? That's a lot to to me it's really a stretch. And I'll turn it over. I just thought I'd chime in here.
But you know what? What's interesting is she's
Oh,
questioning.
sister, can I just say one thing?
Oh yeah,
One
yeah,
last thing.
definitely
And
say
I'm going
something.
to just make a point, because she made a comment saying that all during that time, all of them were making, kind of had racist, basically racist views towards our people in terms of the Negroes, right? And I just want to just highlight one thing here real quick. And this is coming from the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, 1915. It's describing the word ruddy. It says ruddy is the form taken by the adjective red when used as a term of praise of human skin. And this is its use in the Bible. It goes on to say this is how it's supposed to be used. The dark skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. Let me say it again. The dark skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. Let me say it one more time, because didn't the Zondervan Bible Dictionary mention all that it referred to as being dark under Ham? It didn't just say the Negroes. It said the Egyptians. It said Cush. It said Push. It said Canaan. It listed all of them. But here, this reference from 1915, the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. I'm gonna read it one more time and then I'll turn it over to you. Ruddy is the form taken by the adjective red when used as a term of praise of the human skin, and this is its use in the Bible. And it goes on to say in the parentheses, it said the Hebrew and Greek words are all usual words for red or to be read, but it makes this perfectly clear. The dark skinned Hebrews The dark-skinned Hebrew, I'm gonna say it one more time. The dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty and a clear complexion. This also debunks the narrative about Esau, right? Because what was the reason why it was highlighted about him being hairy, but it wanted to make sure that we understood that there was no blemishes in his skin, his dark skin. So the dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. And I challenged them to debunk that reference. I turn it over to you.
But what the interesting part is this, and again, we do our best to be thorough and also very respectful in the things that we do and ensure that if we're going to be the same on one end, we're going to be same on the other end, because she's calling out the credentials and the credibility of Zondervan because he was potentially racist. What about the voodoo priest that she used as it pertains to the being Negro land? And this wasn't, this individual's belief system was nothing like ours. They don't even believe in God. In fact, the person who did that video said that the original faith of our people was voodoo. So that shows that if an audience agrees with them and can help them, oh, they'll back them up and don't care anything about their credibility. But if it's anything that can make us look bad, oh, we're going to question their credibility. You need to question everybody's credibility if you're going to do that. So
And
that was my point.
my thing is, she would have a better case if the Zondervan Compact Dictionary was published in 1900 along with the Negro the Beast, because she can make a better case that that was the belief of that time. But it was not released until 1967. Now you have to make an assumption that that is what Zondervan believed, or that is what Zondervan was saying. Now she wants to take the position that Zondervan was saying that we're Negroes the beast, because they are, because the camps were using it as a means to say, hey, see, we're not Ham, we're not Japhet, therefore we must be Shem. They cannot disprove that that is what Zondervan was saying. Now, my question is this, okay? If we want to go down that route, we can do that for many things. And I have to ask the question, how many of them Bibles, how many of them reference material, how many of the concordances that you have or made by Zondervan, you need to throw out the window? Because if you're going to make the assumption that they didn't do their research after they got those 67 scholars and that they continued the racist programs of the 1900s, which Zondervan hasn't even been associated with, because Zondervan wasn't even founded until 1931. It's a spurious argument to try to say that Zondervan was promoting Negro the Beast. Now, the other question is this: is it possible? Is it possible that Zondervan was saying that the Negro is Shem? Is it possible? Okay, because I say it's possible that they were saying that the Negro is Shem. Why do I say that? Because if you go to the Jewish Virtual Library, they talk about the Nigeria Jews, the Jews in Nigeria. And I'm going to read a few from that. It says, according to oral tradition, the Igbo have resided in Igbo land, a region of modern-day Nigeria, for over 1,500 years. Before that, the tradition asserts that they were migrants from ancient Israel. There exists a number of theories that explain from whom the Igbo are descended and how they came to reside in Nigeria. One theory contends that the Igbo are the descendants of one of the lost tribes. Paul Obiani, a history professor who is himself Igbo, says Igbo Jews and the ancient Israelites share cultural traits, resemblances, but that there's little established historical evidence of any connection to the ancient Israelites. Within the Igbo, there exist three ethnic sub-identities. They are Beni Geth, Beni Zebulon, and Beni Menashe. The Igbo of Beni Geth are said to have descended from Gath or Gad, the eighth son of Jacob. The lineage traces itself through Gad's son, Eri ben Gath. A number of Igbo clans claim this identity. They are the Aguileri, Umuleri, Ori, and so forth, right? So I'm not going to even continue reading on, but if you go back and read that, you will see that, hey, even the Ashkenazi Jews who control and own the Jewish virtual library had the idea, along with the rest of the world, that the Igbos were Jews. Now, the question is this, okay? If the Igbos are Jews, right, were they the ones sent to America? Okay, Council on Foreign Relations, the legacy of slavery in Nigeria's Igbo land. So we just read that many people thought the Igbos were Jews. Okay, so now the legacies of slavery in Nigeria's Igbo land, it states, also to become welcome is the increased attention by African scholars and journalists to the role that domestic slavery and the international slave trade has had on African cultures. Igbo land was a major source of slaves for Virginia and the American South. Igbos were a major source of slaves. Okay, so we just read at the Jewish Virtual Library that many Igbos were considered to be Jews. Now, we have more historical documentation to prove that the Bantu tribes are the true Israelites. Now, my point is this. If the world, and we got much documentation to prove this, if the world considered back then many of the so-called Israelites to be Black people, to be the former slaves, it is possible then that Zondervan took the high road and put the truth in as much as they could. Now, we know even back in 67, it was a still racist society because we were fighting for civil rights. But to make the assertion that, you know, they were in reference to the Negro being a beast is absurd. And to say that Nephi was talking about anthropology is absurd because she was not talking about anthropology at all. This had to do with, in reference to what she was pointing to, because she started off her video showing camp members saying that, oh, see, the Compact Bible Dictionary says that we're not Ham. So she tried to make the case that they were saying we were beasts. Well, you cannot make that assertion because there's not enough evidence. You are the one who went to law school. You should have taken enough ways and classes on how to research. I mean, maybe you shouldn't have passed. Maybe you did something else to pass because you don't seem to be a very good scholar.
Hey, can I chime in there real quick too, to add to his point? Because, and this is one of my favorite books, and they could use it if they want to try to debunk it, and I can, like Brother Yakoba, Minister Yakoba made it clear. There's plenty of references that we can utilize, right? And even with his point that he mentioned about the Igbos, is Harry Kissinger, the Secretary of State for Richard Nixon, lying when he states, and this is on their government website, the Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa? Wait a minute, did they say are like? Because like is like having the characteristics. It says the Igbos are the wandering Jews of West Africa, gifted, aggressive, westernized, right? But then when we go a little further back, just a little reference, African and its inhabitants, written in 1833, that's during the time, right? Where, as you pointed out, during this time, they're writing a lot of racist stuff. Everything has this racial overtone to it. But when you go to page 173, it says the Saracos. In other words, they were referred to as today the Sonic people. It says the Jews of West Africa, right? Wait a minute, but they didn't just stop there with the Saracos. I could name a few other tribes that they named up in there. The Dahomey, they named up in that. They also named the Mavumbas was another group that was named up in there. And this is what they say about them, right? It says the Portuguese designation of Judeos Praeton, in other words, Black Jews, it's right up in there. They may certainly be regarded as of Jewish origin. If the statement be true, they are strict observers of what? The Sabbath, abstaining even from all conversations on that day. So, is this a racist book right here? Are the, being that it's written during that time, that timeline, to make that assessment that all these guys back that during that time, they were, that's the period where we were viewed as being less than. This is not a Negro that wrote this book, right? This is a Caucasian. His name is Elise Recluse. So for me, when I hear or see these type of talking points that is coming against us, is it's an agenda behind it. No matter what we say, no matter what we do, instead of taking the references and taking it and researching, it's taking it from a perspective of, well, anything, we're going to keep saying no. We're going to keep going against whatever they say. So it's a difference of having a disagreement versus being a disagreeable person. And that entire group is disagreeable because they're trying to use any and everything they can to try to debunk the narrative of who we are as a people and whom we descended from. All right, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Let me say something real quick. Before I get off here, I'm gonna be done. Everything that pretty much Pastor Kelly and Minister Yakoba said was like spot on. I mean, I couldn't even I can't say anything else to add to that. But I will just say this: it's like super funny when I send these videos out to a lot of my Messianic Jewish brothers that live in Israel. It's funny when I send it to a lot of my Bedouin brothers who never was enslaved or never left Israel. And they've been over there over 4,000 years. They could trace their lineage all the way back, and they know who we are. It's super funny. And they laugh about it, and many of them, they just waiting on the word for me to just give them a call to get on some of these lives. But the thing is that's really funny, like Pastor Kelly said, is that they'll find anything. Even if the Zondervan said Shem or the Negroes, they will find a way to say, well, it didn't say Negroes with an S, it said Negro in singular. So they would try to find a way to just come up with anything to debunk that. The question is to me is if I often find it funny that one of the main sources that a lot of Israelites use is the ancient historical Jewish almanac, where the Ashkenazis and the Jewish rabbis and educators tell you that they are not even related to the ancient Israelites. Why is that not on the main platform? And versus the Zondervan, which is something like your brother Minister Yakoba said, we could just throw that out the window. Why aren't they using the Jewish almanac from the 1900s and debunk that from what they're saying? They never deal with any of the Jewish, and to be honest with you, the Israelites on the corner, they're not using a lot of the Jewish sources that many of us use because we're not dumb, we're not stupid, we're not uneducated like they want all of us to appear to be. Why isn't that information that we use on the table from the Jewish sources like Shlomo Sand, like Aaron Elhike, why they don't go after them to debunk those sources that we use? Because why? Because they're not going to touch the Jewish people. They're not going to go after them. They're not going to go after Shlomo. They're not even going to go after Dr. Michael Brown, who specifically did a video on Constantine and Western Christianity saying that, hey, Christians test you to prove that you're a real Christian by putting a ham sandwich in your face. This is what Dr. Michael Brown said. But they'll go on and show like he never said it. They won't go after Harry Rosenberg, who clearly says that the Igbos that a large majority of them were put on slave ships and brought to the Americas. See, this is the angle that and the vantage point I look at when I'm dealing with this type of information. Half the time I don't say nothing because of the fact I'm like, these are weak arguments. Even the Jewish people are saying it. Not only that, I just dropped a video in Demona, which is a video where one of the rabbis come out and clearly said he found the 10 lost tribes, and he used Sanhedrin 94, which is in the Talmud, to prove that. Go after the rabbi that spoke in Demona at the Demona Israelite conference, and that's all I gotta say, man.
And just a real quick, the reference that Pastor Majors is making reference to is the Jewish Almanac, which was written in 1980. That's one of the references that I have, page 3. It says, strictly speaking, it is incorrect to call an ancient Israelite a Jew, or to call a contemporary Jew an Israelite or a Hebrew. The first Hebrews may not have been Jews at all. That's the reference right there. And as Pastor Majors pointed out, how come they're not going after these guys? How come they are constantly, everything you see, most of the stuff that they have on their channels is always about our people? I've never seen them, and I challenge them to go after this right here. Try to debunk this right here. I've never seen them go after those guys. And most of them don't even believe in the Hebrew Israelite Messiah. You know, so I agree with you, Pastor Majors, and you hit on some excellent points. So it's like no matter what you do, they're going to try to find something to come against it. And not even discuss dialogue. Now they starting to get into other stuff that's just like way out in left field that I just don't even want to entertain. But nevertheless, great point, Pastor Majors, and I agree with you, and I agree with what Minister Yakoba pointed out as well. So I turn it back over to you. I just wanted to highlight give the reference of what Pastor Major just pointed out, and also you'll find in that that Jewish almanac, the bulk of the talking points that not just the urban apologetic community, the apologetic community as a whole are using comes right out of this book right here. The talking points to try to debunk our identity. So with that being said, I turn it back over to you, Sister E. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're good, because one of the people in the comments says, what about the Oxford School teaching we are the Hebrews in their history courses? And then another problem I have, and you're noticing that, this Oxford School. And then not to mention, they don't realize how disrespectful they are to the tribes within Africa that say that they come from the line of Shem. They're not just insulting us, but they're insulting them as well. We have multiple conversations with different people. We're just not doing this off the cuff. We're actually having conversations with individuals over there that do practice and believe that they are the people and have proof. And they have it's like they have no respect. One thing is to disprove something, but they go beyond that. They're ultimately disrespectful. All of us, in last year, have attempted to have conversations with them, attempted to do things to work and build with them, and that's all they've been doing is slinging mud. And that's just ultimately disrespectful. I commend you, brothers, because you all have put in the work and the effort to help us understand this a little bit more so that we won't walk around blindly in this. But they won't, but the thing is, it's obvious. It's not about truth, it's about winning an argument by any means necessary. If it be disrespectful, if it be lying. Now I can understand it if we were functioning like the camps, and I don't put my mouth on the camps too much because I'm praying for them as well. But I can understand it if we were being disrespectful. We're not being disrespectful. We're actually trying to figure out what this means to us. How is this connected to us? Even going as far as doing the DNA. Because again, we're trying to make sure that we're walking in truth as much as possible. We've even stood up and stated on our beliefs that we don't believe any more different than you all. But yet and still they slinging mud. So it's not about bringing truth. It's about winning an argument. If it be disrespectful, and we've seen them lie before, by lying, I mean, it's appalling. I mean, I've never seen this before.
And, Sister E, what I want to add is, one point that Pastor Major said, which really should stand out to people, is that the reason why they don't go after those other people and go after the scholarly articles is because they can't debunk it, right? The reason why Nephi chose the Compact Bible Zondervan definition of Ham is because it's left open to interpretation, right? There's some level of interpretation that is needed of, well, what did they mean when they say, but not the Negro, right? Because they didn't just come out and say, well, the Negro is Shem. So you have to use your your brain and say, okay, well, maybe they mean this, maybe they mean that. So she decided that they means Negro the beast. Okay, that's what she decided. But what about the hundreds of other articles that we have? What about the book by Armistead Wilson from 1819 to 1868, which says a tribute for the Negro being a vindication of the moral, intellectual, religious capabilities of the colored portion of mankind, with particular reference to the African race. And it says, Negroes, in every respect as to physical character, it is probably an allusion to this case that Pennington, in his textbook, says, the descendants of a colony of Jews, originally from Judea, settled on the coast of Africa, are Black. What about these types of books? And we have hundreds more. What about these scholarly articles? What about the people who are closer to the time period of the Jews, who know about the Jews, who know about what happened in Africa, who was at that point in time in Spain and in Portugal? What about those books? Y'all running away from those. Y'all want to go pick up one little offshoot of a definition in a dictionary and say, see, the camps say this, and see, it really means that they were racist. And so they were really referring to the Negroes as beasts. They weren't saying they were Shemites. They weren't saying they were Israelites. Okay, like we said, throw the dictionary out. Throw the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary out. Let's deal with the rest of the stuff.
That's right.
Let's deal with the stuff that Pastor Kelly gave. Let's deal with the people that Pastor Majors has on his show who are Jews living in Israel who say we are the people. Let's deal with that. Y'all want to go for the low-hanging fruit. That's dishonest. That is dishonest.
I agree with you. Is there anybody else that has anything else to say? Because again, we as a group, we're trying to ensure that we do things, I guess, in such a try to be respectful and as and be honest in our research. Ask yourself this question: how honest are they being in their research? Um, because obviously they'll tell one side of the story and hold the other story part of it back. And we've seen this time and time again. I haven't watched the video. I have gotten to the point that I don't watch their videos because I cannot stomach it. Because again, they're very disrespectful, and they'll say this. And when they take this video, they'll make it seem as if, oh no, we've not been. Yeah, they have been disrespectful. Um, I think Yakoba has shown it. Pastor Kelly has shown it. Majors, everyone has shown how disrespectful they can be and not have honest dialogue. Where is Eric Mason? He is the leader of this. Why does he not want to speak to the leaders in our community? Why does it seem as if he goes and get his other people to speak on his behalf, but he's not saying anything? So if we're looking at them at a certain way, we're going to also look at him as well, because that's just like me doing something. People would not just look at me; they would look at Yakoba, Pastor Kelly, Pastor Majors, because I'm associated with them. So I really think that it's not just Nephi that needs to step up. I think Eric Mason needs to step up and speak. I think that Damon needs to step up and speak and have real dialogue with our leaders. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to go get their minions, people like Faithful to God, Cherry, G-Con, G-Man, and go get them to speak. No, they need to stand up and speak. If they're going to do this, they need to make, oh, I almost said it. I'm not going to say that. They need to speak up. I had to catch myself because it's getting ridiculous. We've done this for the past, I know I've done it for the past year. Pastor Kelly has done it for a couple of years. Yakoba has even reached out, and he had very respectful dialogue with Faithful to God. We have done this consistently, but where is Eric Mason in the midst of all of this? He's not speaking up. But the biggest concern I have, and I'm not going to say anything yet because I don't want to tell what's going on, but just pay attention to how they handle themselves. When they're getting ready to do something, they come at us and attack us. I don't attack them. I only defend myself from them. Yakoba defends himself. Pastor Kelly defends himself, and Majors, everybody's defending themselves. We're not saying you have to be and think like us. No. Ultimately, what we're saying is leave us alone. If you don't believe what we believe in, that's fine. We will walk away and agree to disagree. But it's like they want us, it's not even about our faith. It's about us saying that we Israel. If we stop saying we're Israel, they will be fine with that. And what they don't realize, we're not going to do that. So they need to get over it. But again, I'm saying, where is Eric Mason? Why isn't Eric Mason speaking to Pastor Kelly and Yakoba and Pastor Majors? Why is Damon? Damon was willing to have dialogue with Polite. And Polite doesn't even believe in God, but they will not have dialogue with any of us. Because one thing they will say is we believe in Yeshua HaMashiach and we believe in God. They ain't gonna have dialogue, but he'll waste his time to have dialogue with someone who does not believe in God. So that tells you what they're trying to do. They don't care about truth. They care about winning. And that's all I got to say.
And we know why Eric Mason isn't showing up, because the puppet handler stays behind the scenes while the puppet is what everyone sees. Vocab is a puppet. Cherry's a puppet. Okay. Faithful to God is a puppet. Eric Mason is working for the other puppet masters, which is Acts 29, who's paying for his church and all that. I'm assuming they're paying for his church, right? I'm assuming, my opinion. Okay. So we know why Eric Mason not showing his face, because that's what cowards do. They hide behind, they manipulate the strings, and they let their little people go out there and take the heat because they're peons. That's why he let them out there. He has too much to lose. He don't want to lose his church. He don't want to lose his financing from other people.
And again, he's not addressing his right hand, which is vocab. He hasn't addressed it. They want us to consistently address the camps on their poor behavior. They haven't addressed any of it.
And can I say this real quick, Sistae?
Yep.
And just to give clarity for those that may not understand the backdrop of what took place, even with the discussion about the pews, the reason why I got offended about it is, and it's predictable. I knew something was going to happen. Is the fact that Dante was calling them out, Yakoba calling them out. Teotw, they calling these guys out, calling them to the fire, and they did not have an answer. So what did they do? Well, let's shift the discussion on whether or not you can read. I can read the Hebrew writings on the pews. Okay, well, look, he can't read Hebrew because he can't read the pews. They try to make that a discussion, to try to debunk whether or not we are who we are. My issue with they free to discuss whatever they want to discuss, but once you put me in a video, and this is how they operate, they created a video with me in it, and then expect me to respond to them. That's not how you engage in discussion. And guess what? That's all they want to do is engage with videos going back and forth, but with no dialogue. Faithful to God reached out to me through Messenger. He was respectful, but I made it clear to him that I don't want to talk to him. I want to deal with all of them together. Starting with Bishop Mason, Damon Richardson, and if they want to have vocab alone on the panel, all of it, but I want to have those two on the panel, period. And like I made it clear, whether we have a panel of people on our end or it's me by myself, I know I can handle all of them by myself. So this is what they do. They're trying to bring the illiterate narrative, that stereotype that vocab does in all of his videos for the most part when he's dealing with the camps is the narrative of illiteracy. He wants to bring that narrative, that stereotype, the angle of black exploitation that he utilizes in his videos. So that's why I got upset. That's why everything is off the table about those pews. We could have had a simple discussion. They could have reached out to me offline as Sister E tried to make happen. But they put a video out first, and then you expect me to be cool about that. Why? Because that church down there is not just just a talking point. My heritage, all of our heritage connects to it. Me and Pastor Majors, our uncle, Pastor James Wesley Carr, pastored that church there. We had this handed down in our heritage, our lineage about who we are in the Hebrews that was in that area. I'm not going to give too much information on there because I am going to debunk their nonsense, their talking points, even about that area, which none of them have ever gone out to visit. But I just wanted to give a little clarity on why I'm upset and why I got offended by that is because they brought that into a discussion because they knew they did not have an answer, as Minister Yakoba just pointed out, Pastor Major just pointed out. They did not have an answer, so they wanted to shift the narrative to the pews. So I just thought I'd put that out there just to give people more of a historical backdrop. And we've always been ready to have a discussion. That whole $1,000, like the whole show that Damon Richardson did, it was all a show. It was all a show with the whole polite thing. Why? If you notice, he still was saying they were going to get paid, but he wanted me to give him $1,000. Mind you, he reached out to me through Brother Bareem, wanted to have dialogue, and want me to pay you to have dialogue. I'm not charging anyone to speak with me. My cousin and I, we travel up and down this East Coast for free, sharing information for free. So I'm not impressed with the whole polite thing. And, I'm not even impressed about that because if you listen to it, you will hear, the full deception in that whole show, that publicity show that was made public with him on that video. If they really want to talk about truth, then Bishop Mason, Damon Richardson, Vocab Malone, and Faithful to God, Abu, all of you guys, we can have a discussion. And starting with the topic, is Christianity good for any people based on the examples of the urban apologetic community? If you say that Christianity is good for our people, then let's start confirm it by your actions and see if your actions line up with the book. I'll challenge all of you guys. And I want to make it clear to Damon Richardson and Bishop Mason. I'm not dealing with Faithful to God. Those are I would just say low levels right there. So again, I just thought I'd put that out there, and I'll turn it over to you, Sister E. I know I'm getting a little emotional here. Why? Because it's offensive to see how they're coming at our people. I may not agree with the things that the camp are teaching or whatever the case may be, but guess what? I'm not going to publicly humiliate them either, because I understand where many of them are coming from. Many of them have a lot of anger. Why? Because I was angry. Many of them don't know what it feels like growing up in the streets of North New Jersey. Don't know how it feels to have people lie to you about different things. The very place that you go to try to get some type of healing from is the very people that have put you down. I didn't know that I was poor until I went to church. I'm being real with you guys. I didn't know that I was poor until I went to church. And how they would say, some of the adults will make comments that, hey, my son used to wear that shirt you got on in church. So their behaviors is parallel to that right there. So if they really want to have a discussion, none of us are hard to find. I travel. We all will travel to where you are. So with that being said, I turn it back over to you, Sister E. That's pretty much my last comments right there that I want to share towards that. But right now they're not going to have a discussion. They're going to hide behind videos.
Yep, I agree with you, and that's the consensus amongst us. No more vocabs, no more faithful to gods, no more uh cherries, no more G cons, no more G man, whatever. Uh that's over with. It's time for Eric Mason and Damon and all these guys to step up because you all are their leaders. They watch you. They follow direction from you. So Eric Mason and Damon and Neffy and all of them need to step up. I wouldn't even say Neffy. Damon and Eric Mason needs to step up and speak on behalf of their community. Because let's not forget that he is all of a sudden, and Berin has mentioned this, is coming out with this great book about the moderates. Why? You haven't talked to any of us. So what are you basing your information on? Are you basing it off of what you think? Or have you had dialogue with us? See, they make money off us because it's convenient, it's easy. If they want to make money, the first thing they do is do a YouTube and put our names or our pictures on their screen. So ultimately, they're using us as a way, a means of making money. So come behind the book, come from behind the book, the publishing company, come behind from behind the pulpit,
That's right.
have a conversation because you're making books about people that you are saying they don't deserve any shine. That came out of some folks' mouth and came from Eric Mason's mouth by way of Berin. They don't deserve that type of exposure. So if we don't deserve that type of exposure, why are you creating a book about the community? I don't know if our names are in it, but why are you making a book about it if we don't deserve no shine?
Well,
But
Sister,
that's
you hit it on the nose, though, real quick. I hate to cut you off real quick. I apologize.
no, you're
That's the
good.
point I wanted to make right there. It's all about money. Every time they have a book or a conference that they do, they stir up the pot by putting a video out there or of how to debunk Hebrew Israelites or the Hebrew Israelites think this or the moderates. They come up with the term moderate. I don't call myself a moderate, but they always come up with something to stir up controversy to draw us to their platform. That's why my cousin Majors and myself, we said years ago, we was trying to encourage our people stop going to their platforms. They're just doing that as a bait and switch type tactic to get us to go to their channel and guess what? Give them the views that they're looking for. They want to hide behind those things. But again, starting with Vocab Malone, and I will call Vocab Malone continuously out. He's a racist. He used our people to exploit us. Show me in the Bible where the Hebrew Israelite Messiah, and I'm going to keep referring to him that way. Show us in the Bible where as though he was mocking the Roman government, that he was mocking other people because they were part of different belief systems. Show me him mocking them. Show me one scripture that confirms you going out here, showing, mocking our brothers and sisters, having them holding Tanakh upside down, showing that they're supposedly be illiterate and blowing them up by a Muslim. He has other videos where you have Muslims telling the Negro basically correcting us. I could go right down the list of all the stuff that he has going on, and using the word coon, and they are okay with that because it's all about money, and that's going to be exposed. That's going to be exposed. One thing I always say to our assembly: guess what? The kingdom is lasted. It lasts forever. It's everlasting. But an empire has an expiration date. So they think they have an empire. There's an expiration date to that so-called empire, and it will come crumbling down. That's a promise. That's all I got to say. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. It goes back into the, what is your true motive? Is your true motive about selling, getting conferences, tickets for conferences, making money off books? Because every single conference, YouTube live, book, everything that they really want to make money off of, they base it off of us. So if you want to base money off of us, let's sit down and have a dialogue. Eric Mason, you really want to make money? Sit down and have a debate with Kelly, Pastor Kelly and Yakoba and MAJORS and all these individuals. You make a lot of money then, but they ain't gonna do that because again, I don't think they can defend their argument. I think as long as they can stay on their porch, what's that saying? If you want to get off the porch, if you really about your business, but really you sitting on the porch screaming, but he won't come down off that porch and sit down and do what he need to do as far as, roll with the big dogs. He ain't gonna say nothing to none of y'all. He gonna stand on his porch, make those comments, but ain't gonna come down from it. And I will say this, I would say even within our community, we need to stop debating them. Make them have to debate our people. Make Eric Mason have to do what he's going to do, and Damon and all of them. I would say even unsubscribe. If you're subscribed to their page, unsubscribe. Hit them in their pockets. If they come out with books, don't buy it. Don't support anything that they do because ultimately they make money off of us, but they will not have a conversation. So I will say this again. Eric Mason, Damon, debate our leaders and see if you can hold your own. Because if you got truth and you feel like you can tear this doctrine down, come on, do it. And I would say the rest of us stop debating them. Make them just let's dry their wells up. Don't debate anybody. Block Faithful to God, block G-Man, block all of them because they're gonna keep making videos. But let's not give them what they want. Eric Mason needs to stand up. You're gonna make a book, have a conversation. Does anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah, I want to say this real quick. Man, when I realized that all of this was a game and a joke, it wasn't even when I went out to the frequency conference, me and my cousin, Pastor Kelly. It wasn't even that. I knew it was a game and a joke even before I went out there. When Muhammad Tanzamore got disrespected by James White, and none of them said nothing to James White. None of them. When James White said that the Israelites were worse than the Ku Klux Klan, and Muhammad Tanzamore came out in defense and was like, yo, I know they do some crazy stuff and say stuff on the corner, but worse than the Klan. And when he attacked Muhammad Tanzamore in a video, and none of them said nothing to him, I already knew what time it was. I knew from that point on what type of people I was dealing with, and it's a waste of time. They won't even defend their own. You think that I'm going to sit up here and think that they're going to even embrace or listen to anything I got to say, or any of us, no matter what the information is? I don't care how many videos they do. I don't care how many times they want to call us out or whatever they want to do. I ain't giving them nothing. At this point, they beneath me. At this point, they get nothing, not even a second of my time. It's because it's a distraction from me doing the work. It's so many people out here in Christian churches, and I know this firsthand because I deal with them. It's so many people believe that they Israel in the church to the point to where they just don't have nowhere to go, and they don't want to be a part of the camps, so they'll just sit there. It's so many pastors that preach in the pulpit every Sunday that I talk to on the phone, and they say, I know I'm an Israelite. It's so many of them. So if they ain't going to defend their own, why would I expect them to defend me? No. I went out there for the whole purpose. Even though I was invited by Muhammad Tanzamore, and me and my cousin went out there, it was just for a testimony against them. That was the whole point. And so at this point, I ain't got no words. I ain't got nothing for them.
Well, you heard that from MAJORS. That is so funny. But I mean, again, family, I would say just ensure that we monitor our dialogue. Let's not kill our witness. When we get out here and we do what we do, make sure that your witness is always good and pleasing to the Most High God, because they will attempt. And after this, it's gonna get even worse because that's how they function. After this, they're going to do even more of a mudslinging match because that's what they bank on us being, um, being who they're trying to paint us to be. They want us to be aggressive. They want us to cuss them out and all that. Let's not do that. Let's not give them that. Let's not give them that type of energy. If we continually walk in the love that the Most High told us to walk in, guess what? He will speak on our behalf. But we cannot let our witness be ungodly. So let's make sure that our witness is clear and clean because they're coming with more. They're not done. They're not done. But at the end of the day, I ask this question: when is Eric Mason gonna have that conversation? I at one time was, and I'm gonna be real with you. When I was on Berean's panel, and people know this, that I was like, okay, I don't have a problem with Eric Mason. And in fact, he was on the panel one time, and I was cool with him. But I really started losing a lot of respect for him when I noticed that his minions were operating a certain way and he would not step up and speak to Pastor Kelly. I really didn't have that much respect for him because I remember when Pastor Kelly told me about a couple of instances, especially with that frequency conference. But I even stepped in and said, you know what, maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe they don't know what we believe in. Maybe they're basing their belief system off of the camps. And this is why the whole time while I was on Berean's panel, I would openly ask people, tell people, if you want to ask me what I believe in, I will tell you. I'm very open, and I left myself wide open numerous amount of times, even when people had agendas. I always made sure that people were clear on what I believe in, and what they found out is I don't believe any different than them. The only thing different that I believe about them is I believe I'm Israel.
And
So
Sister E, one of the things that strikes me about UA is, and it's sort of hard not to hit them below the belt because they hit us below the belt, is that their scholarship is very poor. And these are supposed to be the intellectuals who's supposed to be teaching everyone else, but their scholarship is very poor. I mean, in comparison, they're like an entry-level chess player playing against grandmasters. They can't even begin to win the game. And it's really sad because they're supposed to be the scholars, right? They're supposed to be the seminary teachers, and you would think that they haven't finished school. Now, is it that they're intellectually dishonest, which I think they are? Because most of these people, they have some level of education, but it doesn't seem that way. So, one thing that I find, they use the low-hanging fruit, the faithful to gods, the vocab Malones, to do all the, take all the hits while they give them commands from behind the scenes. And then those people are obviously trained in Gish Gallop debating practices, and which is, not pursuing truth is to win a debate. Uh, it seems to me that we should no longer give them any attention. We should leave them alone, as Pastor Majors so eloquently said. They're not worth our time at all. I mean, really, they're not. If they ever decide that they want to have an intellectual discussion and an honest debate, we'll do it, but we'll do it on Sister E's channel, because you're not going to do any Gish Gallop principles on us. You're not going to turn our mics off. You're not going to overtalk us. We're not going to allow it. So I agree. And it's really sad that even the people of our own color is going against truth. And like I said in previous shows, I really don't understand how they don't fear God, because if this is a God movement, which I believe it is and know it is, then they're in trouble. I would not want to be in their shoes.
all right, I think everybody made good points. And again, I know some people in the UA community are watching this, um, and because that's just the nature of them and how they function. So they already know what the what we what the requirements are. No, none of us are not debating. Tell faithful to God, go take a rest, and all the rest of them, Cherry and G Man. I mean, they can go and take 1,000 seats and just wait until it's, until Eric Mason steps up. Now it's time for them to go tap their leader on their shoulder, because last time I checked, Yakoba already finished Faithful off, so he needs to go sit down. But ultimately, it's time for Eric Mason. If he's doing books about us, he needs to be respectful enough to say, I will sit down and have an honest, clear debate with Kelly. And one thing people know is I'm very fair. And I'll go as far as saying that if they did it on my channel, I would not moderate. I would let Father G moderate. And I've said this. Father G, I ain't gonna say he doesn't care either side, but he is the most person, he's in the middle on both topics. So I would even go as far as saying I will not moderate. I will allow Father G to moderate because I respect Gardis enough. And he's willing to do it. So while the UA community is watching, and I know they are, if Eric Mason isn't watching, please communicate to y'all leader. These are the requirements. Anything else from anybody before I close out?
I'm done.
I'm done as well.
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. All, thank you so much for coming on and listening to us. And understand that everything we're doing it out of love. We a love for God and a love for our people, and even love for people that don't even look like us, because they love to say we're racist, but it's a love of truth. That's the biggest thing. And we're just asking them to, step their game up. But I want to, like I said, I want to thank everybody for just doing what they're doing, coming on here, and again, let your witness be godly. Don't stoop to their level, family. And I will wish you all a shalom and good night.